how do we determine if an election is fair? And I don't necessarily mean like the ballots were counted correctly. What I mean is, how do we determine if the winner that we decide should truly be the winner, and that winner is the fair winner? Well, they've come up with 4 criterions, and we're actually just going to focus on these 3 right here. The first one says, the majority criterion says, if one person gets more than 50% of the first place votes, then he/she should be the winner. This is actually considered the popular vote, really, if you think about it. The Condorcet criterion says if one person is preferred over each of the other people, then he/she should be the winner. That totally makes sense. Like if more people prefer one over the other, then they should be the winner. And the last one we call the IIAC criterion says if one person wins the election and a different candidate drops out, then the original candidate should still win the election. Well, that seems pretty obvious, but sometimes that's an issue. Okay, in this particular video, we are going to focus on the majority criterion, and then in 2 other videos, I'll focus on this one and this one. So let's start the majority criterion. Remember, that one says if one person gets more than 50% of the first place votes, then he/she should be the winner. Okay, the question here is, does the Borda count violate the majority criterion? Well, the first thing that we need to do, folks, is decide who has the majority, and does someone even have the majority? Well, to have the majority, you have to have more than 50% of the first place votes. And to figure out what 50% is, we have to calculate the total number of people who have voted. So we've got 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 5 is 10, plus 11 is 21. So 21 people have voted. What is 21 times 50%, or 21 times 0.5? Well, that's just 21 cut in half, or 10.5. Okay. So who in this position here has the majority? Well, we're only looking at the first place votes, because we're saying if one person gets more than 50% of the first place votes, then he/she should be the winner. So who has the majority here? Well, you should have said C, because C has 11 votes out of the 21 people that have voted, and it only needs 10.5 votes to have the majority. Okay, well, I guess it needs more than, right? So it should be more than 10.5. So yes, 11 is more than that 10.5 votes needed. So C wins the majority. But let's see who wins the Borda count. Now you're saying, why are you finding the Borda count? Well, this question is asking me to find the Borda count and figure out if the winner of the Borda count is different or the same as the majority criterion, which is really just the person that has the majority, in this case C. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember, we're doing 0 points, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so A is going to get 2 people voted it in first place, plus 3 people voted in first place, plus 5 people voted it in first place, and then in this case 11 people voted it in second. So that's 11 people voted it for 2 points. That's a total of what? 52 points. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's find B. Okay, so B is gonna get 2 people 2 points, 3 people 1 point, 5 people 2 points, and 11 people 1 point. How many points does B get? I count 28 points. Okay, how about C? Oh, C didn't do so well here. You can see 0 points, 0 points, 0 points, and then 11 points times 3 is 33 points. And last one up is D. Trying to figure out how many points D has. Okay, we've got 2 people for 1 point, 3 people for 2 points, 5 people for 1 point, and 11 people for 0 points, or I'm not going to even write anything. So let's see if I can do this in my head. This is 6 plus 2 is 8 plus 5, 13 points. So the clear winner here is A. Okay, so listen carefully. This is the tricky part, right? The majority goes to C, so the majority of people thought C should win, but A wins the border count. So does the border count violate the majority criterion? Yes, because it comes out with a different answer than the majority. So we would say C wins the majority, but A wins the border count. So this is a violation of the majority criterion. In other words, the majority criterion says this makes total sense. If someone gets more than 50% of the first place votes, they should win. But the border count actually has someone else winning, and so this is a violation of the majority criterion. All right, let's go ahead and let's try one more problem. So this question says, does the plurality method violate the majority criterion? Well, again, we have to find the winner of the plurality method and see if that violates the majority criterion. But first, it's really important that we make sure we have a majority. Well, this is the same problem as last time, so we know that C has a majority. Okay, and then let's see who wins the plurality method. The plurality is the person with the most first place wins. Well, in this case, A has 10 first place wins, C has 11, B has 0, and D has 0. So A wins the plurality, C wins the plurality because it has the most first place wins, and C has the majority. So does the plurality method, which says C is the winner, violate the majority criterion, which says C is the winner? The answer to this is no. Both, or I can just say C wins both. So if you have C winning both, it does not violate the majority criterion. Now stay with me for a second, folks. I do want to talk about this next problem. This sequential runoff, remember, is a really long process. And so what we want to do is find the majority criterion first. And actually, if we don't have a majority, we don't even have to do this because you can't violate the criterion if there is no majority. So first of all, how many voters do we have? That's 18, 20, 27. So 27 voters times 0.5, 27 times 0.5, and that gives me 13.5. So you would need 14 votes to have a majority. Is there any letter here that has 14 votes? Well, B has 8 first place, A has 12 first place, C has 4, and B has 3. So there is no majority criterion winner. There's no majority. So we would say because there is no majority winner, the majority criterion, it's hard to spell with an R there, the majority criterion is not violated. So aren't we happy that we checked to see if there was a majority first before we did all this process for the sequential runoff? I'm certainly glad. Okay, so as a quick summary here, for all these problems, you first have to find what the majority would be by taking your total number of votes and multiplying it by 0.5. In this case, you'd need 14 votes to have a majority. Then you should determine who has the majority, if anyone. Now, if no one has a majority, you basically say the majority criterion is not violated because there is no majority. But let's say there is a majority, like here, C has the majority. You would need to find this winner and make sure that they match. If they do match, then there is no violation. If they don't match, like A wins the border count and C has the majority, then you would say that there is a violation. Thanks for watching.